in Judaism, you could spend all day praying. Hi guys, Marian here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about why we pray. Why do Jews pray? The power of prayer and my personal thoughts and feelings about prayer and how I pray, do I pray, what I pray for. So let's jump in. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Marian. I make videos about being a mom and being a Jewish mom, and I would love it if you hit that red subscribe button down below to see more. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. So to kick off today's video, I've brought with a little show and tell. This is a Jewish prayer book. This is the Siddur Sim Shalom, if the camera will focus on it. I get asked a lot what prayer book I use. This is the Jewish Conservative Movement's prayer book. They don't all have this fancy cover. This is my husband's actually, but I will link it for you below if you're curious. And yes, there are different prayer books that different Jewish movements use, and the prayers in Hebrew in them are almost all the same except for a few key tweaks. For example, the Reform movement will use male and female pronouns, whereas the Orthodox movement will not. The Conservative movement has changed a few words in prayers. So it's very much in the weeds, but they're all very important and critical decisions that came into writing these prayer books. But what's really different is the English translations, I find. So anyways, I love the Siddur Sim Shalom prayer book. I've used it, I don't know, not my whole life, because there definitely was a switch, and now I'm getting into politics, but for a long time, for at least 10 or 20 years. So this is what a Jewish prayer book looks like, and it has all the prayers for all the services, as well as some personal prayers throughout the day. Which gets me to my first point, which is that in Judaism, you could spend all day praying. From the moment you wake up in the morning till you say the Shema before going to sleep at night, there's just lots of prayers. And most of them are exalting God, proclaiming God's wondrousness, His oneness, His amazingness, and thanking Him for being able to do all these things throughout the day. Everything from eating, to go to the bathroom, to experiencing new things. So things that are very routine we pray and thank God for, as well as things that are momentous and miraculous. So I really wanted to make this video today because we are in the midst of the US 2020 presidential election, and there's a lot of prayer going on, including from myself. I know the first night of the election, I was up all night pretty much, and I was just in tears. And the only thing I could really do, the only thing I really felt like doing was praying. And I really wanted to reflect on that and share about why I prayed in that moment and what I prayed for, because I thought it was actually really interesting. So as I was praying, I was thinking to myself, like, is my one little prayer really going to change the outcome of an election that, 50 million people are voting in? Or did I think I was part of this collective prayer, that there were so many people praying for return to justice and humanity and health again for our nation? So I think part of it was being part of that collective experience, and part of it was just my own personal prayer. But I think for me, the reason that in that moment of fear and desperation that I turned to prayer is because I have always had this sense or faith that God is with me. So it's almost like a way of communicating, a way of sharing my thoughts and feelings, of relieving the stress that I have, the anxiety, by sharing it with someone. And even though I could talk to my husband or friends and family, there's some thoughts that are just so personal, so intimate, or so desperate that for me, I feel like I can only share them accurately with myself and with God. So for me, talking and communicating and praying to God is not so much a logical request that I'm expecting this miraculous force to swoop in and change things, but it's just a way of speaking things into existence for me, a way of communicating. It's asking for something or praying for something or hoping for something, even without that logical component of, if I pray very hard, then this will happen. And that actually brings me to something I care deeply, deeply about, which is the idea that just because something bad happened to you doesn't mean you didn't pray hard enough, or doesn't mean that you are not blessed, or doesn't mean that God doesn't love you. We live in a shattered and broken world of randomness, and bad things happen to good people. And that's actually one of the books, I talk about it all the time on this channel, is Rabbi Kushner's book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People, that for me really defined how God could fit into my life. And he talks about that the world is random, and that for him, faith in God was about partially asking God for the strength to get by in this chaotic world. So there's that aspect of prayer, and there's also finding God within others. You know, when you ask God for help, and I've talked about this in my What is God in Judaism video, and a person comes to help you, that they might be an angel of God in that moment, that they might be exerting God's will within this world. But just because someone doesn't help you in a moment of need, or you don't get what you've prayed for, to me, doesn't mean you haven't prayed hard enough. It just means we live in a random, chaotic world. So I have 3 fundamental uses for prayer that I also wanted to share with you guys, and ways that prayer speaks to me. And the first is through song. So a lot of Jewish prayers are sung in melodies, and some of these melodies go back hundreds of thousands of years, and they're all the same throughout the world. So of course there's different variations and new melodies are written, but there are some that are the same and that almost every Jewish person will know. And I love singing and hearing these songs because I've heard and sung them my whole life. They're very comforting. And even if the prayers are in Hebrew, and my Hebrew is not fluent and I don't understand every word, also some prayers are in Aramaic, some are in ancient Hebrew. So for me, I almost enjoy not understanding every single word, because it's more the mood and the energy of the prayer that uplifts me. By the way, I will mention here that when I gave birth to my second son, I did it naturally, and I used a lot of Jewish music to get through the experience, and I found it really therapeutic and helpful in the moment. But that's another story. So the second way that I use prayer is through meditation. So I have a Jewish meditation video, which I'll link below, but I meditate through a line of prayer. It's always been the same one. It's the last line of the Don Olam, and in English, it's God is with me, I'm not afraid. So I physically meditate on prayer, and that also calms my body, speaks to my spirit, and I've had some amazing meditation experiences. I would say I've gotten pretty good at meditation. I'm definitely like not a, meditation guru of any sort, but for myself, I've learned how to do it in a way that I feel fulfilled by it. But if I had not connected it to Jewish prayer, I don't think that would have happened, because every time I tried to meditate before then, it just never clicked for me. But because I had a basis in Jewish prayer that was very meaningful to me, and when I added a meditation practice to it, it really took it up to a next level. And by the way, a lot of Jewish prayer is meditation in just a different way than we're used to thinking of it, not in sort of the Eastern way, but a lot of prayers are very repetitive, they're long, they create this meditative moment. And the last thing I want to mention about how prayer serves me, or how I use prayer, is getting back to Rabbi Kushner's book about finding strength for hard times, and also speaking things into existence. So getting back to, all the drama of election night, although I was asking God for goodwill and for good things to happen in this election, and I really was thinking about how many deaths the pandemic has caused, and how desperate I am for new leadership to come in and help us repair. I was also asking him for the strength to possibly have to endure this climate for longer than we already have, and for the ability to wake up the next morning and to just keep going no matter what had happened. But also this idea of maybe if everyone is praying for this, or maybe if we're all willing goodness to happen, that somehow it will, because we all have the divine spark within us. We're all part of this divine energy that God put into the world. So those are my thoughts on Jewish prayer. What is it? Does it work? What do I think about it? I would love to hear your thoughts on prayer. Do you pray? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to chat with you. Hope you guys are all doing okay. I know this is such a stressful week for everybody. I love you. I thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.